Hello everybody, welcome back, and today I will be doing a review of Avatar: The Last Airbender Book 1. Now, some quick background on this. I did not grow up watching Nickelodeon. I didn't know much of anything about Nickelodeon. I didn't know what a Nickelodeon was. I had the pleasure of not knowing what SpongeBob was. Okay, it's an alright show, some of it's funny. With Avatar: The Last Airbender, I'd only heard of it, I'd only heard good things about it, but I had never heard any spoilers about it. And if I did, I don't really remember what they are. There is no nostalgic factor in this review for Avatar: The Last Airbender. So without further ado, here is my nostalgic-free review of Avatar: The Last Airbender from an adult's point of view. Let's get started. Let's start with the negatives. The first 4 episodes are probably among the worst. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen the first 4 episodes in over a year. What I really recall about the first 4 episodes is not really anything positive or anything funny. It's just really negative. And the main negative aspect of the first 4 episodes is the character Sokka. I think what they tried to do with Sokka in the first 4 episodes, they tried to make him into this incompetent chauvinist character where they were trying to make a point that is not relevant now and it was not relevant in 2005. The writers try to force this point down our throats a little bit, I think. And I didn't find him annoying so much as in him himself. I was annoyed with the writers that were trying to do this to me and do this to this character. So I guess the writers found out that an annoying protagonist is in fact actually annoying. So they quickly moved on from that within the first 4 episodes. Now the other negative thing I would say is that episode called Prisoners, where Katara and this earthbender break the rules, and there's some prison ship and like forced labor involved, and she gives this rah-rah speeches, and the episode was fairly boring and also kind of cringy. I don't know what Haru's problem was. Like, he was rah-rah before he got on the prison ship, but he's only been on the prison ship for about 24 hours at best, and he's already broken. Like, man, Haru was a blank slate to me. I couldn't care less what happened to him or what he did in life. And then another negative aspect is actually at the very end of the season. At the very end of book 1, we have a moment where Admiral Zhao is going to kill the moon spirit in the mortal form of a fish. Whatever. Iroh was telling him no, and Sokka and Katara, and they're all on the same side. So Iroh, who's from the Fire Nation, whom the protagonists have known to be their enemy, they're in this moment all agreeing with each other to don't do it, don't do it. Of course he does it. They somehow magically fix the problem, and then there is a moment where there's just Iroh, Katara, and Sokka. That was a missed opportunity. What would they have talked about? What would they have said to each other? Because up until this moment, they were enemies. Now, let's move on to the positives. One is the animation. The animation is just amazing. It's charming, the characters are very expressive, the effects are very cool when they fight. This is like this cool, they put them in these cool situations. And it's almost like Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animation is more like, what if we were like kind of like anime, but what if we were actually good animation? So the animation is just awesome. The other major positive thing I would say is the writing. The writing is really well done. It's polished. The interactions between the characters feel real. Their reactions usually feel very, very real. It's almost like they had written a previous season 1 to figure out how to write the first season 1. The voice acting, so good. It's important with voiceover or voice acting that the voices are very pleasant and they're really good at emotion and really upping it a little bit. Whoever was casting them did a great job. So that's it for the positives. Let's move on to the character analysis. Let's start with the easy ones. And of course the easier character analysis are always the protagonist. So let's start with Aang. He is a very well written character, and he's also a very well acted character. Technically he's 112, but you never really think of him as 112 because he acts like a 12-year-old. Aang could have fallen into the too perfect realm, but they didn't do that because they could still present him as a bit naive and a bit immature, especially with that one episode where Aang is literally playing with fire and he burns Katara's hands. That, is a nice little wake-up call for him. They give him those growing moments to make him feel like a real human being without killing his character. Now we move on to Katara. There isn't much to say about Katara. Katara is a good character. She balances out Aang and Sokka. I don't know if she knows that Aang has a crush on her. It would kind of be nice if they got together at some point. But they're a bit young right now. Katara was more likely to fall into the realm of being a Mary Sue because, especially at the beginning, she's more likely to be right because she's a girl. You have to see her fail in a way that fits within her character, and they did that. So kudos to them. The voice actress also does a very good job. Let's move on to Sokka. Sokka, I think, is one of the more relatable characters. So to say the things that you want to say, but you kind of feel like you shouldn't say. And Sokka is, morally speaking, is not quite as there as Katara and Aang in some areas. But at the core, he's still a great kid. So Sokka is a more complex mixture of things than Aang or Katara, and Sokka, the voice actor, is absolutely amazing. He did a phenomenal job, and the writing, especially once we got past the first 4 episodes, really improved. He's a really well done character, and I really like this character. Now we'll move on to the villain, Prince Zuko, or Zuko. I think it's Zuko. Zuko, right? Zuko? I think Zuko. For Prince Zuko, I thought maybe he was a little tiresome because he was, get my honor! He was kind of yelling and angry all the time about stuff, and like, yeah, you're angry. I get why you're angry, but anger does not make for a good personality. But Zuko was more complicated, and they moved him on, and that was good. I'll be honest, I was never really afraid of him as a villain because he came off more as a reckless, brash, angry teenager. There was this one episode where his uncle Iroh gets kidnapped by these earthbenders, I think, and he sees the flying bison up in the sky. It's like, oh, the Avatar. And so he has a choice to either go after the Avatar or go get his uncle. He goes after his uncle. Doesn't make for a major villain. And especially when we get to that episode where they give us his backstory. And his backstory, the reason why he has the scar and all of that. It's a tragic story, but he was also in the right. So almost as soon as we got, his backstory and all of this, that the writers, I think, started pushing him out of the villain picture and bringing in Admiral Zhao to take his place as the new villain for a few episodes, so they can start taking Zuko away from all of that. It was an interesting mix where I wasn't scared of him, but I felt like he was totally capable of doing all these things. And now we'll move on to Uncle Iroh. Uncle Iroh is a well-written character, where he is this calm, positive influence on Zuko. So Uncle Iroh the voice actor does a great job, where he's the comedic relief. He says things, he's got little proverbs, but you also know that secretly Uncle Iroh is a very clever man. He's more than just this crazy, fun uncle that you have at your Thanksgiving, It was nice to have an element of depth there, and also that he was always there for Zuko, and that he kind of took Zuko under his wing after his own son died, and the Fire Lord kind of tosses Zuko to the side. So there's like lots of different elements to Iroh. So that's my character analysis for the main 5 characters. Let's move on to my predictions for book 2. My predictions for book 2 are as follows. Prince Zuko and Uncle Iroh will join Team Avatar by the end of book 2, if not at the beginning of book 3. I also predict that Uncle Iroh will teach Aang firebending. I also predict that Azula will probably die within the next 2 books. I think she'll die in book 3. But I predict that Katara doesn't really know that Aang likes her until book 3, and they don't officially get together, but they're not officially not together. It's like the horrible in between. I only predict this because I feel like I've got a vibe from some of the fans about this, but not that I've ever been told anything specific. And that's it for my predictions for book 2. And when I finish book 2, I will review book 2, and I will give my predictions for book 3. Now, is there anything I would change to the show? Other than the first 4 episodes, That episode about the prisoners and really wanting to see the exchange between Sokka, Katara, and Iroh, nothing. There's nothing that I can really think of that I would change about book 1 specifically. It is a good book 1. I would highly recommend it for anyone to see. As an adult, you will enjoy it. It doesn't feel kiddie. You're just sitting around by yourself or with your significant other. You're like, what should I watch? What new show should I watch? Watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. You will not be disappointed. So my overall rating for Avatar: The Last Airbender for book 1 is 8 out of 10 stars, only because of those 5 episodes. They exceeded my expectations. That was somewhat predicated on what other people had said about it. So kudos to them, 8 out of 10 stars, especially since book 1s are usually not the best. Book 1 is very enjoyable and I would actually sit down and watch it. There are very few shows that I feel like I actually would sit down and watch the entire season 1 all over again. With Avatar: The Last Airbender, I would watch the whole season for enjoyment all over again. I would come back to it. I highly recommend this for a viewing and you will thoroughly enjoy it. The effects are cool, the animation's amazing, and the writing is stupendous. Go give it a watch. It has Heather's stamp of approval. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye. I've only watched a little bit of anime. I haven't been impressed with the animation. It's more like a lack thereof.